Hello and welcome everyone to Deconstructing the Construct, episode 24. This is one of those weeks where I can say it's been a hell of a week. It's been very, very busy energetically. There has been a few pauses, and I mean those like where the whole world goes pause, nature goes on pause. But there's only been a couple of those. And the rate at which things are changing, energies are coming in, is just getting exponentially quicker and quicker. It really isn't going to slow up as far as I can see. We have got so many things going on at once on all levels. You know, if you're looking out there in the world, you can see that for yourself. Just on the 3D level, but wow. So I'm going to do my best to try and give a recap of what I've seen going on over the last week. For those of you who've been following this business with the pink chest and the relics in some cases that were offered, and then it got cleaned out, and then it felt like we were being presented with the angelic and galactic realm. I think we've moved beyond that. We're seeing a lot of stuff at the galactic level. There's a lot of information coming out, or certainly some teasers for information that doesn't turn out to be too much. But there's a lot of activity, a lot of talk, a lot of focus at that level at the moment. But on the energetic, we've moved beyond that. We're now dealing with the God realm. And that is playing out in a lot of ways. Which is somewhat convoluted to try and explain. But I'll throw a what if out there. And when I say the God realm, it includes all the mythologies as well. All of the royalty, the pharaohs, the stuff that's supposed to be part of our history. It's all of that. Anything and everyone who has been placed above and outside of us. And the what if is, what if these are our stories? What if we are those characters and these stories were stolen from us and fed back to us in a somewhat distorted fashion, populated with external characters that are greater than? What if they're our stories? It feels like we are in a space process of reclaiming those stories and those characters. And in some cases, it manifests as aspects of ourselves. There's been a lot of reclaiming this last week of aspects of ourselves that either have been stolen or lost in what I'm calling this God realm. So there's been a lot of, integrating going on. And I do still feel this very much, this sense of all of these perceived dimensions that have been artificially fractured off, merging, and now we're way up here somewhere. So this reclaiming of aspects of yourself can be, you might have some fantastical dreams. For those of you who do this stuff awake, you may find yourself pulled in all kinds of directions. Indiana Jones kind of adventures where you're reclaiming and finding lost treasure. It can look a lot of different ways. But there's that going on. At the same time, and definitely connected, we've been measuring certain frequencies leaving, and one of those is adoration, which is definitely connected to this God realm. And that can show up in a lot of ways. Some of them can be kind of ugly. Because along with that is what we like to call in Australia the tall poppy syndrome, where we raise people up, elevate them, idolize them, adore them, and then chop them down. And the way this can play out will also depend on where that frequency is within each individual, whether or not you're doing the adoring or being adored, or both. And there's a lot of different frequencies that are related to that on the spectrum that are going with it. But I keep being presented with bread in my dreams. That's interesting. Possibly. Okay, another big thing that happened, which is amazing and beautiful and very, very positive, was even though we're sort of up here dealing with this God realm, we've got the galactic and angelic realm playing out still. But the work that was done earlier with the astral or the 4D or whatever you want to call that is a lot of souls that were trapped went home. The process has begun of retrieving all of those lost souls. It's a theory based on an experience from the beginning of 2011 of seeing the recycling centre on the moon be destroyed. The rinse and repeat cycling centre, as I've been calling it. Since then, we have seen orbs growing in number. You know, more and more people are finding orbs, photographing orbs in vaster and vaster numbers. The theory part is that they are those who have passed, who have not been rinsed and repeated and recycled because that facility is no longer there, but they still couldn't get out. So I'm interested to see if people who notice those things and always find orbs around them or see orbs around them or are able to photograph them, notice less and less of them. Because it feels to me like that whole 4D astral realm is pretty empty now. We've got people who are able to measure these things, and they've measured cemeteries, old battle zones and battlefields, and they're empty. It does appear like people are going home. Finally. So there's that. Those of us here in good old physical 3D will probably be the last. We've got to escort everybody else home first. What's the next thing? Okay, the weirdness with the water. Water has been a huge theme for the last probably 2 weeks. We've got it physically disappearing here. We've got dreams and visions of somewhere else where it's increasing. And I'll say somewhere else, but for some it's home. For others, I don't know where it is, but they're seeing it. We've got the theme of, you know, mermaids and anything that we associate with mythology and water showing up a lot. We've got Moira, who works with Lilu, told us that the environment at home is more water-based and that we are in a process of acclimatizing to that. We've got people dreaming of being in water. We've got more in terms of the... It does feel like we went into a new space last week, at the end of last week. And this space has been measured, and it does have more water content, which has been increasing slowly over the past week and is now actually reached 100%. That's manifesting as difficulty breathing for some, feeling like they can't quite get a full breath, heaviness on the chest, that feeling like you're underwater with your ears, lots and lots of dreams, water-related dreams. Where is the water that's here going? It may well be going to this place, this space that is our acclimation space. That's one theory. So anyway, I think that's all there is on that one. Been looking at how so many things are happening in 3D right now and playing out. And they're none of it's very, very, very good. Whether it's fires in California or, you know, the water disappearing, or this Cloud9 drug in Brazil, and then there's sort of crappy stuff going on. And it's like we are being hit on all fronts. And yet these things seem to be isolated. We don't really have a global, for want of a better word, theme. We have isolated themes. And there's a couple of ways to look at that. Of course, one of them is it's just all fuckery and they're coming at us thick and fast and doing everything they can to induce fear and control and all of that. That's obviously there is one way to take it. There's a couple of different perspectives though. Another one is we are still going through this backwards through the series of events. Are we playing out all of the elements of the invasion, but we're doing it in, I guess, the gentlest way possible, which is localized pockets playing out different frequencies? That's one way. looking at it. Another one. The other one is that, again, everything they do, as fucked up as it is, also seems to wake more and more people up. Is it a combination of those three and many more that we haven't even considered? And it probably is, because we don't know what we don't know yet, still, always. Another thing, another perspective on this is, and this was brought to my attention by a friend of mine, that we've been focused on where we are here in 3D and all these separated so-called dimensions above, what we say above. But there may well also be many below. And there is one school of thought that says that there are below, and that because we are such incredibly powerful manifestors, that our imaginations run wild and we create. But we create things that we don't necessarily want to experience here in 3D, so those things get stored somewhere. They get stored in these lower, what we call the lower realms or lower dimensions. Are we integrating those too? Are we going to see those things have to play out? So there's at least 4 different perspectives to look at what's going on. And then, like I said, it's probably a combination of all and more. Okay, how do I... Yeah. I was given a visual. I mean, we've got a lot of... These are all... I keep saying they're all metaphors. I don't take any of these visuals literal. But I do believe they're all metaphors for something that we couldn't possibly get our brains around, our minds around. And it shows that we are shown these things with different metaphors. Although many, many people, when you dig past the labels, past the storylines, past the narratives that are created around these visuals, we're often saying the same things, even though we're not using the same language. But I was shown a visual that would suggest we are about to see some change in the financial, and it feels very soon. It feels like within the next 14 days. But I don't know what yet. The visual I was shown implies that it's being infused with gold. And I don't think that means physical gold at all. I don't think it's going to I don't think it's going to look like the launch of a gold-backed currency or anything like that. But I do feel like we're going to see some big announcements. But we'll see. Some people have even been having life reviews in dream time, literally having their whole life flash before their eyes, or a past life flash before their eyes. We're, like I said, doing so many things at the same time. We are reclaiming aspects of ourselves. We are reclaiming the parts of us that have been lost or stolen, or both. And at the same time, we are releasing so many imposed frequencies. And that it's not even that no 2 days are the same anymore. It's like no 2 hours are the same. And it's a real roller coaster. But so much good stuff is happening as well. And I know it can be hard to feel that way when you're seeing all the crap that's going on. But it has to wave at us on the way out, as far as I'm concerned. There was something that went down at the end of last week, and the message was that the construct has been informed. The time is basically up. So how they react to that, I don't know. Those of you who do or have identified with a mythological, historical, or religious character, may have a moment of crisis. And a loss of identity and a loss of self. Because attaching ourselves to these characters, these names, is not healthy. We need to get past that, beyond that. Even if they are our stories. So, I haven't been keeping an eye on the chat while I've been getting through that. So, I don't know what's been said. But please put your hand up. And I'll try and grab what's been said here. News from today's SEO announcement. 1 banana, 2 banana, 3 banana, 4. Yeah, it was a bit like that, wasn't it? Okay. Barmy, did you want to speak? Or was it an accident? Thanks, Tracy. Okay. No one? Oh, this will be a short show. Awesome. I can't have breakfast. Yep, we got a hand up. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Barmy.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thank you, darling.
Yes, I had maybe a little thing I'd like to share. Last week in my meditation, I had some kind of weird experience. Like usually, you get these lights, colors, and movement and all that, like passing by some. And all of a sudden, everything turned completely blue, solid, flat blue. And then I was wondering, I could, go from one end, like say blue wall to wall, and I could go from one side to the other. Usually that you lose your focus, you lose everything, But it would stay there for about maybe a good 30 second, half a minute. Then I thought, looks like the projector got stopped and I was left with only the blue screen. kind of funny. I'd like maybe share that. Do you have any thoughts on that? So
What shade of blue?
it's middle blue, like in the mid of from black to right in the middle, like
Did
the
it have
perfect green blue.
Did it have a watery feel at all?
No, it had a feeling of artificial, like
Okay.
So,
Like a blue screen when a computer crashes.
well, yeah. The movement goes, the image is gone, just the blue screen left. Well, that was kind of funny. So I said maybe worth sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. I got no idea what it means though.
Okay, thanks.
But I do have. I've got to find those sun photos. Speaking of projections failing, and apparently this sunset has been seen elsewhere as well. Here we go. I'm going to share a screen with you guys. This was our sunset the other day. It kind of looked like the Japanese flag. It was talk about a projection failure.
There you go, now it's recorded. My God, we're the kings of the world, but
It's pretty cool. Okay, Susie, are you here? No, Susie G wanted. Okay. We also had helicopters again, although they were invisible. We live not too far from an airport, and there was distinct flight path. But these helicopters were not doing the flight path, and straight over the house, very low. You could hear them, you could feel them. You couldn't see them, not a single light on, which is highly illegal. Sorry, muted. Yeah, not a single light on at all. Very dangerous new flight path, obviously, and highly illegal. But did 3 flyovers in the dark. But there, we've getting so many people mentioning helicopter flyovers these days, especially when you're in the middle of an energetic doing, which is interesting. All right, guys, that is my update. So if you've got nothing to add, we're done. Unless anyone wants to share. Well, yeah, I don't want to talk for the sake of talk. So,
Getting shorter and shorter.
yep. I mean, there is, I guess there's lots, we can discuss lots of different details about how these things can play out. But in some respects, that's not a good idea because it limits people's experiences. What about the SEO crap date? Yeah. Yeah, well, a lot of hype about it, a lot about nothing, which was always going to be on the cards, possibly a distraction. But it's part of a theme that's running right now, you know, because we had them hyping up that announcement at the same time that we've got the Trump resurrecting the, whatever that thing's called. What's it called? That group?
Something.
Then
Office.
his UFO group, whatever.
Yeah.
Plus we've got the, and what's his name? The muso that's put together this other group filled with ex-NSA and CIA and DOD. Tom DeLonge. And there, you know, so there's, it's just putting the subject matter out there in mainstream in a big way, with a big push. They get it, they're gearing up for something. Does anyone know yet what Trump's calm before the storm was in reference to? Thanks, Tulip. Oh, yeah. So in the UK, they had a very weird day. It was almost like an eclipse energy and light. Everything went darker and it went kind of yellow and eerie, where everything paused, and they were told that it was sand from the, where were they told it was from?
The Sahara.
Sand from the Sahara blowing in, except it was coming, the wind was coming from the wrong direction. It was coming from Ireland. But
From the storms.
so that one didn't add up. But no idea what it was. Hopefully a lot of arrest, but that's dreaming. Okay. No, it's just JJ Shah. I read an article that ISIS surrendered, but I'm not sure if that's true. What would that mean? The CIA aren't getting paid enough to keep that shit up. No, which ISIS? Yeah, exactly.
Americans. Or the claim.
People asked
Are dragons considered part of the gods?
to expound on God.
Are dragons considered part of the gods and therefore also leaving? No. It's not. That's not the mythological thing that I mean. When I say mythological, I mean like the Greek gods and the your Zeus and Apollo and all of that. The personified stories. If that makes sense. It does very much feel like these are our stories and we're reclaiming them. However, in the process, I don't think it's healthy to identify with any particular character. Because chances are these characters are an amalgamation or a distortion. Yeah. And I have known people very much in the past who have very much identified with a historical figure or mythological character or something. And it's not healthy, in my experience. But if we are dealing with this realm and reconciling this realm and reclaiming these aspects of self, then just, integrate and let it go. Apollo from Battlestar Galactica. I never watched that, so don't know. Not everyone's going to experience this, obviously. But it does feel like aspects of us were in fact stolen in order to populate these stories or something. Comment. I had a strange vision some weeks ago that some Dracos were trying to beat down my energy field, and when I made it strong, their boss showed up and told them to back off. He stood there and I thought, okay, what now? Then this black dragon came in and he and the other Dracos backed off. Also felt that the boss told the Dracos I shouldn't be touched. It was really weird. Interesting. I think they've run out of what's the word? Like twists and turns. I mean, they've never been able to create necessarily, so they've taken what we've created and distorted it, but it's like they've distorted it so many times now, they've run out of distortions. So it doesn't surprise me we're kind of seeing a lot of what feels like replays. And I'm getting that feeling around the whole California fires thing too. Yeah. No, I didn't see that. Laurie? Where did you send it? Facebook probably, yeah. No. No, I'm not seeing it. I am not seeing it. Do you want to come out and share what this is? Oh, here we go. Hang on. Catharsis on the Mall plans to have 45-foot tall nude statue of a woman. Is that the one? To what end? What's Catharsis on the Mall? Does anyone know what that is? In Washington, the organisers of Catharsis on the Mall are planning to have a 45-foot tall statue of a naked woman near the Washington Monument for several months. The National Park Services confirmed to Fox 5 it received and was reviewing a public gathering permit application for Catharsis on the Mall, which would include erecting a 45-foot tall statue of a naked woman. Oh, is a woman standing in her strength and power, expressing her humanity, how she feels when she is safe, when she can just be.
It's a bit ugly to me.
Catharsis on the Mall is an annual vigil held in DC that aims to raise awareness about the Equal Rights Amendment. And they want to stick a naked woman up there.
The harvesting technique.
It's a little bit of a twist, isn't it? Is it near water?
No. Oh, in this case, it's just a sexual penis.
Obelisk is kind of creepy. Oh, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Organisers were seeking to raise $90,000 in donations, and vigil keepers, which are people needed to stand watch around the statue 24 hours a day. So she's supposed to be standing there in her power and glory, but she needs to be guarded 24 hours a day. Doesn't sound like she's feeling all that safe to me. Okay. Seems a bit contradictory, doesn't it?
It is a ritual.
Why does naked equal glory? What's that about? Huh. Okay. That's it, guys. Unless you can put your hand up now or forever hold your peace, as they say.
They wanted you to talk more about this in the fires.
Talk more about the fires. Well, I probably know less than you guys do in terms of, because I haven't been doing it, looking at it too much on the 3D level. But what I have looked at, it would appear that many of the same tactics and weapons and whatever, and the weapons, I say weapons because this is not the result of a fire, your standard bushfires. It would appear that a lot of the same weapons were used or have been used in California as that were used at 9/11. So I'm wondering, in terms of positive that can come out of this, is whether or not it will leave a paper trail or evidential trail that leads to proving what 9/11 was. Houses don't burn from the inside out. Trees don't burn from the inside out. Glass doesn't melt at the temperatures of a bushfire. Houses do not burn to dust. It does seem, I mean, it looks like ground zero down there. And I'd like to know where all the people are whose homes are no more. Where have they all gone? Is it possible the US is at war and they just haven't announced it? Is it a turf war? Did they need to evacuate that area because of something underneath or nearby? I don't know. All we know is we're not being told the truth yet again. All we know is it looks like an inside job yet again. And like I said at the beginning, there's like 4 at least perspectives you can look at it from. A land grab? Maybe. It certainly is doing its best in terms of a harvesting exercise as well. Oh, an Indigenous tribe saved their own land. Fire came right up to their reservation. Interesting. P, you're unmuted. Oh, no, you're not. Oh, you were. There we go.
There we go. Okay. I had an interesting conversation last week with a person at the farmer's market who was from Santa Barbara, California, which there have been a lot of fires up there in the past year. And he was saying that a lot of the fires seem to be very suspicious. And a lot of the areas that then get burned out, whether it's a farmland or a camp, then the people can't afford to rebuild. So that who comes in is these commercial pot growing operations, because they're the only ones with the money that can buy the land to do that. And he said there are stretches of land in Ventura County where it used to be all, agricultural farming, berries and things like that, that is now just rock solid for miles, pot farms, but big commercial operation pot farms. He said you drive past through that one area and the whole air just smells of pot all the time because of the farming operations there. And so it strikes me that, in what is in that area in Northern California, that's all of the vineyards. So prime growing land. And if you wipe them out completely and they maybe can't afford to rebuild, then guess who can come in there? But it was very weird because I just had that conversation last week.
What if it's GMO pot?
Well, it will be GMO. It'll be Monsanto pot. Wow, that's an extreme measure to go to acquire some fucking land. That's interesting, though. So,
In the US, what's multiple patents and strains of cannabis?
oh yeah. But it's certainly, yeah, I agree, Russ. That could be one reason. But they don't do anything for just one reason. It's always many levels. But it does feel like they wanted that area evacuated, is for want of a better word. Thanks, P. Karen, you're unmuted, I think. Yep.
Yes, I am. I don't know where I saw it. Also, somebody on YouTube, the zoning commission, commercial development, people's corporations or whatever, but the zoning commission had the same map that for future development overlapped on top of the fires, the most recent ones. and it was a perfect match.
So what was
It
the
was-
development?
I don't know what it was for, but it's commercial property development, and it was this zoning commission map and everything was from last year or a year before or something like that. So this was projected a long time ago. They wanted this land on purpose for this development.
Well, as you know, we've got friends who are living smack bang in the middle of all this, and about a month ago, they photographed 10 to 20 feet high piles of wood chip that had been just dumped around the area for no apparent reason on a lot of the major roads, exits. It does look like there was quite a bit of planning that went into this.
The other thing I have noticed, just, catching glimpses here and there, that I also noticed was that nobody's talking about the people, nobody's talking about what happened to the people that were in those homes. Where are they? Where's the national emergency? Where are these FEMA places, getting money to help these people like Texas? It's conspicuously missing.
So there's no footage from shelters and
nothing that I've seen. Just footage of the devastated, areas and the maps of it, but no mention of any kind of national emergency, money, FEMA, where are the people, how many killed, nothing like that. And yet we know it's real because we do have people smack dab in the middle of it.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know too. Where is it?
And, we speculated that those big, huge piles of kindling at major road intersections were there to basically block people in that area from getting out. But then again, then there's no people. If people were in those homes, that kind of devastation would have incinerated them too. You don't hear people talking about their neighbors, that had to evacuate. You don't hear anything.
So not even
one block is fine and the next block is blown up.
Yeah, I know. It's too reminiscent of 9/11.
Yes.
And the footage that I've seen of the devastation have been by people with drones. It's not media flying over. So there may be some.
I've seen some footage of people riding their bicycles through the area, filming everything, the cars, the trees still standing, the houses, disintegrated, just, riding their bikes through the neighborhoods and seeing, the next block is fine, this block is gone.
Yeah, it's like it reminds you of the cars in New York, where half of them are incinerated and the other half's pristine. They want to have a bullet train through California as well. Has anyone done a comparison to an Agenda 21 map or Agenda 30 now? I wonder. Thanks, Karen. Jeannie, you're unmuted.
Hi. I just want to say regarding that land, Monsanto Bear, one wants to put campuses up there and no one would sell their land. And that is a big reason for the land grab, for what they're trying to do. As far as the people, I know there's people in shelters because Kat and Tamara have been working in the shelters with people. But there are at least 200 or 300 people still missing, at least. And I don't think that that's anywhere near accurate. I think it's much higher than that.
She told me 400.
400? 400 as of yesterday. So, they had a number of like 22,000 evacuated. So, so there is some knowledge of the people, but yeah, we're not hearing anything about all these missing people. We're not hearing anything about any searches to find body parts or bones in the exploded houses, disintegrated houses. Although if a washing machine is blown apart, I don't think they're going to find much of a body. So it's evident that, yeah, I think that I agree that there were multiple reasons, but a land grab is a big part of it and probably financed a lot of it as well. So just wanted to add that.
So when you say 22,000 evacuated, is that evacuated and accounted for in these shelters?
That's my understanding, yes. I can't say for sure, but I will check on that and find out. Maybe I'll have an answer for you tomorrow.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I'm glad to know there are some shelters around and people are in them.
Not a thing, okay.
A land grab. That's just so...
The greed.
Yeah, but it's just so base. It's just like... Ugh. 20 semis. Someone showed a video of about 20 semis going up that way with police escort. No idea what was in those semis, I suppose.
And he can have a purpose.
Yeah, we did have reports, first-hand reports too, of cars plotted around the area that had no number plates and exploded. Like they were set there as bombs to go off. Along the lines of what P said, I follow a guy on Facebook called Mule, and he has a website called 3mules.com. He has been travelling through the Midwest and Western public lands with his mules for about 40 years in an attempt to keep public lands available for public use and enjoyment. And he recently was trying to avoid fires in California and found himself near Ventura and was asking online for locals to help him with the best route to go to a specific town, and loads of people were warning him not to go through the areas of pot farms because apparently the large pot growing operations around there are policed by a very armed army, a very well-armed army that will harass and in some cases do bodily harm to anyone who happens to wander through there. At the time of reading that, felt how odd, since pot is legal there to imbibe. And a plaintruth.info on YouTube is on the ground filming a lot for those who want to go and have a look. Oh, land grab just feels so fucked up. But also feels like that's the obvious, the one they wanted you to see. Mormon church is sheltering California fire victims. That's interesting. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up on the chat.
I think Annie wanted to say something too. I'm not sure.
Annie, did you want to say something? Do you want me to unmute you? You're unmuted, Annie, if you want.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I think it's tying into a lot of things around America, and I know the big fires up in Canada were questionable also, where I can't remember the name of the town. It was totally burning for like 5 months, and they cleared out a whole huge area next to Sasquatch or whatever it is. And then we have the Bundy Ranch where they went in for the ranchers and there was a big bust. And the man that also got killed by state troopers or whoever, FBI along in Oregon, that was tied to the Bundy Rancher deal. That was another land grab try. It's just all over. So it is really messed up, you're right. But I think if we look back at a lot of things, we might see them a lot different now than we saw them when there were actual fires or things going on. We had a huge fire up here in Tahoe about 5 years ago where houses were incinerated. They combusted. It wasn't by any means as big as what we've seen these last few years, but they stopped it before the town. But I mean, within a half an hour, there was 250 homes that were gone to the ground.
And what's there now?
But the difference, the trees were pretty much gone, a lot of them. They cleared the land basically, and a lot of the people have rebuilt. But I'm just wondering if some of those fires way back, like 5 years or more ago, they were like practicing their tactics or something. I don't know. I mean, they said this fire started because of a cigarette or something, but we weren't in a drought at that time, and everything went up like tinder and just exploded, and it was down to the ground, a lot like the pictures we see. So just wondering, we're kind of putting it all together as we look back at things. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you. I mean, if it's in an area where they've allowed everybody to rebuild, or everyone could rebuild, that could just be about, pumping up the local economy, as sick as that is. But I know that with Agenda 30, they want people off the land. They want to move people into these high density environments in very small areas. So everything they do, they try to kill as many birds with a single stone. So a land grab would be one. Moving people out is another. Yeah. It's one of many things that are playing out right now. But I can't get past the feeling that I've had for a very long time that everything they do, as fucked up as it is, turns around and bites them on the ass. Eventually. And the fact that they're throwing so much at us at once, I think they know they're running out of time. I know they know they're running out of time. But there's also an element to this, as uncomfortable as this is to say, that feels like it's us releasing I guess. All of our own personal deepest fears. Storylines that we may have been fed, but we've fed them as well. There's just a feeling that everything has to some degree, play out in the physical. And that to me is tied to this feeling and noticing about it's all kind of in these little isolated pockets, so that it's not too devastating for too many people. I don't know. This might be a chicken or the egg discussion. I don't know. Okay, so just to recap, I guess, in terms of what a next possible explanation for things you may be going through or are about to go through is the reclaiming of self, all aspects of self. And that can include right now anything from galactic and angelic and even God realm. The releasing of fears, because that frequency is no longer supported. The adoration frequency leaving, which again is tied into that God realm. There is a really good chance that paranoia is next. And these things get ugly as they're leaving. They just do.
Narcissism too.
But people are finding themselves. They're finding their voice. They're getting their power back. And they're letting go of that crap. And that hurts sometimes, even physically. But there is also this new space that we're in, which is the theme of water is, like I said, huge. And it can feel like you're suffocating. It can feel like you can't get a deep breath. It can feel like there is pressure on your chest. It can feel like you're underwater with your ears. It can feel like that. Sorry, what was that? I'm picking up that we have to... I am picking up that we have to the end of the month to heal the original death. Today I find myself in strong emotions of goodbye and remembering those horrible memories. That just reminded me. We also got that death is leaving, which is playing out in a number of ways. Death is leaving in the sense of the souls that are already gone are going home. But death is leaving also meant that program, that frequency, that belief system around physical death is also leaving. And to what end? I guess that all depends on whether you believe that we leave these bodies to go home or we take them with us. I'm inclined to think we leave them, but Who knows? And I think that belief, that fear around physical death needs to go either way, whether you think we take our bodies with us or not, because there will be a sense of transition. And it may feel like you're dying. But death is leaving. That was the other message. So, Deanna, agreed.
Yeah.
Fluid in the lungs. Physically, you've had got fluid in your lungs. Does this mean that I can't talk to my departed grandparents anymore? Tom, I'd be interested to see if that continues, and if it does, if it feels different. Because even though I say they've gone, it feels like everyone's gone home. Home is closer than it was before. So it may just feel different. Sorry, it's hard to keep up. I'm also interested to hear from people who do regularly communicate with the deceased. You know, is that still as easy? Has it changed? Are they gone? What's your experience? I died and I didn't die. In fact, I came back with the memory, so that fear doesn't work on me anymore. I'm eternal. You go, girl. Ooh, I told my mum to go home and take my grandmother a few months back and have not really felt her since. In regards to death, just in regard to death, and speaking on death is leaving, as we don't know what the process is, how we transition to home, all I can assume is that the word death is not death as we die, and that's it. More of an energetic transition where the physical body we have here becomes less dense and non-existent in the old space, and creating a new body's there, as some of us have already. Okay.
That's from Curtis.
That's from Curtis.
To clarify the death a little bit.
Well, it's one of the biggest ones, biggest fears. And if fear is left, and all of those deep fears would be starting to be let go of. And yeah, fear of death would be a big one. So, okay. Well, I think that's it. Fear of leaving others behind. Yeah. Personally, I let go of that one a while back because I think no one gets left behind. We might not all arrive at the same time, but it won't be long between waves.
Deanna has
Is it really at this time?
Yeah.
Well, I keep saying goodbye and then someone puts their hand up. So you going to put your hand up? Shasha? Nope. Okay. All right. I think that's all we've got. I can't remember anything else. Oh, I mean, it has been a crazy, crazy, busy, intense week. But these things can take 14 hours to do and 5 minutes to tell. So, I ain't going to stop.
Deanna asked an interesting thing about a Death Star.
Oh, Deanna, put something in there. Where is that? Oh, Deanna, do you want to unmute and tell this story?
The drop thing, okay?
Okay, Deanna, you're unmuted.
I'm in the living room. I think it was.
Oh, now you're muted. Hang on. So I'm going to unmute you.
The OCE put in that 2 stars collide.
Deanna,
Yes.
if you're talking to me, you got a lot of noise in the background, but if you're talking to me, can you start again?
Okay. The OCE today put out a link that 2 stars collided, and it was a Death Star. And they said that they started to see it on August 17th, and they saw it turn blue, then red over 2 weeks. So I'm curious how that affected everybody's illness after the solar flares, or sorry, solar eclipse.
Okay, 2 stars collided. Is that what you said? On August 17?
It's the ESO, the part of the ESO.
So is that right? Part of that ESO announcement was that 2 stars collided on August 17.
And
Is that what you said?
yes.
And where did the Death Star thing come in?
Here's the link here. You can check it out.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And
Hello?
Karen, yep.
Yes. I saw something else, read a bunch of stuff about 2 neutron stars collided, and the thing that struck me was that the collision released gold, platinum, and another precious metal through the fabric of space-time. That's what got me about that. Secondly, with regard to death leaving, some questions, just questions. The fear of death leaving, the fear of leaving these bodies, for those perhaps who aren't taking their bodies with them home, are those who are taking their bodies with them the only ones experiencing symptoms of the increased water? That would be interesting. And then the other thing would be the DNA code, the death DNA code leaving the physical body so that we can take our physical bodies with us. Just questions.
Okay. No, I don't think it's only people who are taking their bodies with them who are experiencing the water breathing issues. It feels
And
like.
then
Sorry.
I was also thinking about the population, perhaps, of those of us who are in pods that are encased in liquid of some form, that may be waking up in that situation as well.
There seems to be that there are many anchor points anchoring us to these bodies. Whether they're programs or DNA manipulations or whatever they are, they feel like anchor points. And they need to go either way for me. They need to go whether we're taking our bodies with us or not. So I think everyone is going to go through the same kind of process to a certain point.
I believe that, you know, our DNA has obviously been fucked with, and it needs to be repaired, whatever. Codes need to leave, codes need to be activated that have been turned off, etc. And I was thinking the other night about, weeks ago when Curtis talked about those 6 or 7 codes, one of which was to breathe underwater, and we focused on activating those codes. And now we have the ability to breathe underwater. And so we're just noticing minor symptoms. Does a fish know it's in water? No. It's going to be a very smooth transition because of that, I believe.
Yes, you managed to allay my anxiety over that. Thank you.
Thank you. I really wanted to talk to you about that.
No, you did a really good job of that. I still feel that we are going to transition. There is going to be a moment of transition out of these bodies.
I do as well. I just don't believe it's going to be traumatic like we think, because this stuff is happening to our bodies in a way that it's just going to be minimally noticeable.
Because otherwise it would be like trying to take your avatar from Sims and put it into Minecraft. You know what I mean?
And the last thing we want is trauma. I mean, that, you know, it cannot be traumatic. We know that.
These bodies, for me, were designed for this environment. Now, can they be tweaked enough to be suitable for a different environment? Yeah, of course it's possible. I just don't feel that that's what's going to happen at the moment.
I think it's going to be individual. I think some will, some won't. That's why I'm asking the question about the fear of death thing. Is it a fear of death so that we can leave these physical bodies without the fear? Is it a fear of death leaving so that it's, you know, our bodies can transition with that DNA fear of death code gone? I think it's going to be individual. I think it's going to be different situations for different ones of us who came here for different reasons and in different ways.
Yeah, agreed. And Barmy, you're unmuted too.
Yes, Matla had something about, like, you know, I get visited by sleeping bodies during the night. Like when I am sleeping, I am interacting with them. And when I'm awake, I feel them around. But the feeling of those bodies right now is different. Before, it used to be more of an electrical signature. And now it's got more of a liquid to it. Like would be something tentative to say, you know, like liquid crystal, like, you know, you can feel them. It's very, very different and it's tangible.
And so, I don't know if you said it earlier and I just didn't catch it, but who or what do you feel these beings are?
Like the people that are sleeping, like, you know, whenever we sleep, we just get out of the body and do our business, you know, and I can feel them walking around. When I am sleeping myself, I can interact with them, like, you know, but there are mostly people around. Like I say, sometimes some people in the house say, I dreamed about you last night. So the story correlates, like, you know, that she was the one walking around in my room. And I could say the signature of the energetic body is different now than it was before.
So you're talking about a lot people who are alive in 3D, friends that you know, who are out of body during sleep time, and you're interacting with each other.
Yeah. And that's, I am very convinced of that. You know, I've been witnessing for many, many years, like, you know, so And I had a friend of mine that would look at you as soon as you fall asleep, that the energetic body would leave, it would do something else. But like I said, the energy signature of it is different now. It can be more liquid, or gel, than it was electrical before.
Huh. Thank you. That's
You're welcome.
interesting. All right, let's do a little survey of those in the chat. Oh, and there's 88 participants. I like that number. Who thinks they're leaving the body and who thinks they're keeping it? Leaving, keep, unsure, leaving, keeping, don't know, leaving, transmuting, don't care. Keep, not sure, depends. Choice, leaving, keeping, transmuting. It's a hologram. Leaving, both, don't have a clue. Okay. So it's a mixed bag. Keep but upgrade. Okay. Yeah, for me, the upgrades need to happen. The releasing of these programs need to happen. All of this needs to happen to disengage us or something. But that can change as new information comes in. We don't know what we don't know. So, leaving, because suppose you have to detach from 3D or major upgrades needed instead. Yeah, I can't get past this mental block, perhaps, of taking one avatar from one environment and putting it into another, and a completely different one where it may not be supported. It would have to change a lot. And there's been such an effort to get us to identify with these bodies, and that they are the be-all and end-all, and without them we're fucking nowhere and nothing. It just, feels like a distortion. Yeah. Karen, have you got your hand up again? I'll unmute you. I'm not sure if you do, if it's still...
Yes, I actually do. With regard to the astral bodies being less electrical now, I would have to agree. And I'm wondering if that is because, the construct is down, therefore the lost souls could get out. And there is a more plasma gel liquid, feel to the energy now because it's unaffected. The other thing, a lot of you know me, and I'm not the forgiving type, so to speak, when it comes to these assholes. Never have been. But it was 2 nights ago, all of a sudden, it hit me that this AI it's not personal. It's a fucking machine. It's not personal. You know what I mean? And these isolated, fragmented, destructive events, etc., around the world are being run by people that are still infected with these programs, trying to continue with their scenarios, but it's all crashing down around them because the construct AI is no longer functioning to support it. And I think you did say something like a week ago that the construct was down. And right after that, the lost souls, the cemeteries, the battlefields were all, released.
That's just been in the last week.
Right, but it just hit me that it's not personal, and there's this sense of detachment, and kind of looking at it more as if I had to give a metaphor for the feel of it, it would be a 4 or 5-year-old child throwing a torrential tantrum with anger and hate spewing as it wrings itself out, so to speak.
So when you
And I just have this emotional detachment now. I just don't feel that anger, that rage, that, it's like, it's not personal. We talk about the AI not having empathy, compassion, all this stuff. It's like, so I'm reacting to an impersonally directed energy. And it was like, oh, that's kind of stupid. It's not personal. And it all just kind of like, it was a thought in my head. It's not personal. And I've been just kind of trying to process this for the last couple of days. But it happened,
how
like
do
I
you
said, a
feel
couple nights ago.
about the being or beings that created the AI and programmed it?
Yes, I thought about that today, actually, about an hour before this show. And I'm thinking, that individual or individuals, those individuals, interestingly enough, I have a compassion, but it's a very stern compassion. You know what I mean? This is never going to happen again, and they will be dealt with, but they're not going to be dealt with in a way that destroys them, it's going to be dealt with in compassion that brings them back to themselves in a way, somehow, because something happened to them. I don't know. That's as far as I got with that. My feeling towards that individual or those individuals is compassion, but it's not compassion, oh, I forgive you. It's you're being dealt with. This is never going to happen again. And you know what I mean? It's not a pass. It's not a fucking pass in any way. It's kind of like, when those Dracos came and they went off to your right, my left. They were going to be dealt with. They're going to be dealing with themselves. And that's what I felt and feel towards those individuals as well.
And compassion as opposed to empathy.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. There's no empathy at all.
And yeah, I also, the feeling of the process was kind of impersonal as well.
Yes.
It really did sort of seem to come down to frequencies.
I felt very detached from it, but not oh gosh, I hate the word emotions because it's not emotional. It's very detached, but at the same time, compassionate. I don't think we understand compassion the way real compassion is here. It feels more for something from the heart that it just sort of resonates with compassion here.
Yeah. Not to be confused with the empathy of the emotional body.
Correct, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I say detached.
Donna, you had your hand up. Did you want to? Donna Spicer? Did you want to come out? Because you put it down again. No? Okay. All right, anything else you guys want to cover? Oh, you can't unmute? I will unmute you. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
In conjunction with what Karen was just saying, I posted on the website under New Earth, there's another QHHT session that talks about the New Earth. And there are actually, it kind of goes along with stuff that we talk about, that there are people who have already made it to home, and then people who will stay here until the end, until everyone is gone, including the bad guys. And then there was a third group, and my mind has just gone blank. So I did post it in the chat a while back, but it's also on the site. So
Okay, I'll have a look. Thank you.
yep.
The first will be the last, just came to mind. Will the vanguard, the first wave, actually end up being the last? The gatekeepers, the door, the ushers. Damn. Well, there has been a feeling of cleanup crew bait. So that makes it would be interesting, wouldn't it? That'll be you, Mark, last out.
It's also kind of a reflection of our innate abilities. If we're that good to be able to last this long and know that we can make it to the end.
We'll be late to the party, but the party won't start until everyone gets there anyway. So,
yeah. Well, it certainly gets a crescendo when the vanguard shows up. But yeah.
Karen, you're unmuted again.
Yes. This is a bit personal, but relevant, I think. The last 2 mornings, Jeff gives me songs, and the first one, I don't like these guys, Daryl Hall and John Oates, I guess. So it terribly annoyed me, but it's Your Kiss is on my lips.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then the next one was Coldplay, which I appreciate much more. My song is Love. Please Come Home. So, guys, we're close. Because I told him I was going through my personal scenario of how I want to wake up from this crap. And it was like, I'm going to wake up in your arms. That's what I'm going to do. And then I got these two songs 2 days in a row.
Well, I've also been getting reports the last 48 hours of people seeing faces. Up close and personal. That they've never seen before. That look a little different. And either seeing them or feeling them. And it does. It feels like we are inching closer every single day. Things are on the move again, yeah. I can feel it. These pauses don't last long. But, okay. Ether beings. Nice. All right. Karen, you're unmuted again.
I'm sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
Oh, that's okay.
And I was just thinking, yeah, I see these beings too, but damn, they're all big. They're all bigger than me.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's not hard to reach. So I guess I can't complain.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I will see you next week. Keep me posted on whether or not any of this relates for you. And I'll talk to the members tomorrow, if not before. And Just take lots of deep breaths, because it's quite the roller coaster. Keep your hands inside the car at all times. Bye for now.